In this session, we are going to discuss about Tableau interview questions and some of the tips and tricks. And so these are the learning objectives for this session. The Tableau interview questions and difference between live and extract, difference between context and traditional filters, and tips and tricks in Tableau. And general tips, know your data at the database level, and test your data and use extracts. So we'll discuss about all these objectives today. Okay, so there are 5 main products in Tableau. So Tableau offers 5 main products like Tableau Desktop, Tableau Server, Tableau Online, Tableau Reader, and Tableau Desktop. So these are some of the questions that you might get in interviews. And how many ways we can use parameters in Tableau? So parameters are to pass the values to the calculations. We can pass the values. So in how many ways we can pass the values? So we'll get to know that thing today. So by using filters, we can pass the values, calculation fields, action filters, swapping measures. So we have done swapping measures and swapping dimensions, and we have done sheet selector and some auto updates. So for all these options, we use parameters. So let's say we have seen some of the wherever we want to put some filters. Let's say I will take state. So if I want to select top 5 states, so I'll go to top and select this top 5. So instead of putting a number, I can create a parameter or use the existing parameter. So likewise, I can put a parameter. So this is the place where I can use. So I can use it in filters and in calculations. So we have also used while creating top and bottom end by using calculation fields. So in that case also we have used in this parameter, and there are some action filters where we can use. And in the previous sessions, we have also discussed how to use parameter and by swapping the measures and swapping the dimensions, and also in sheet selector we can use it. And so we have also discussed about how to do the joins in Tableau. I'll just take one example. Okay, so I'll take this joins and I'll take sheet 1. So to do joins, you need to double click on this sheet 1, and then you can see the sheet 1 and take this sheet 2 here. Okay, so then you can join like this. So like this, you can put many joins. Okay, so like this, you can put many joins in your Tableau, but there is a limit to join the tables. So that limit is 32. So you can join only 32 tables. So apart from 32 tables, if you want to join, so it will not allow you to enter more than 32. So the maximum number Tableau will allow is 32 tables. And what is the difference between live and extract? So live connection is basically it will directly connect to the database. So while publishing, we need to take care about this thing, whether we are connecting to live or we are connecting to extract. So that we need to take care while publishing it to the server. Okay, so if you want to share the dashboard to the people, we'll publish the workbook to server. So while publishing, if you want to publish it live or extract, so that we need to decide before publishing. So by default, whenever you connect to any data or any SQL Server or Oracle, so you will see a single cylinder icon. So that means it's a live connection. And whenever you see double cylinder icon, then you can say it is a extract. And you can say edit data source. So there also you can see the name as, the live connection is ticked. In the radio button, you can see the live connection is selected. And whenever you right click on this extract data source, where you can see this double cylinder icon, and click on edit data source. Let me just do this extract. So let me do this extract data. And edit data source. So here you can see in the connection, you can see the connection as extract. Okay, so that way we can identify whether the data source is an extract or live. So that we can identify. And then, so live is basically, it will connect to the live data. Yeah. So live is basically, it will directly connect to the database. And if there are any updates in the background, so it will be shown in the dashboard. And in case of extract, it is a snapshot of data. Which is stored in hyper format. Okay, so it will be stored in hyper format. So this is connecting to the database, and this dashboard is connecting to hyper file. Dashboard is connecting to hyper file. Okay, so to see the updated data, this hyper file needs to be updated first, then only your dashboard will get updated. So how to update this hyper file? There are two ways where you can update using manual refresh, and the second way is scheduling the refresh. So in scheduling also, there are times that are available. The minimum time which is available is 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes, you can schedule a refresh. So by every 15 minutes, this hyper file will get updated. Based on that, dashboard will get updated. Okay, so for every 15 minutes, we can do that. Or we can keep daily, weekly, monthly, and so on. Okay, so we can put weekly what day you want to schedule, or monthly in which day you want to run the schedule and all, run the extract. So in that time, what happens is this hyper file will get updated first, and later that dashboard will get updated. But in case of live, it is directly connected to the database. There is no mediator in between. So it will directly, whatever change happens in the database, so it will get the data instantly. So that's about live and extract. So you can see here, the live connection is the direct connection, and extract connection is the snapshot. Of it. And changes in the database will certainly apply to the dashboard, and changes in the database will not apply in case of extract. So it does not need access to open the dashboard, and credentials can be embedded so that user does not need any access except the Tableau server access. Okay, so if we embed the password, so there are two options, even in both extract and live. So while publishing in live, so there are two options. You want to embed the password, and prompt user. Okay, so whenever we embed the password, so whenever the person logs in, or whenever a person opens this dashboard, so it will not ask for any password. He can see the dashboard. And whenever we keep this option, prompt user, okay, so then it will ask for database password to the user. So until unless they enter this database password, so they will not be able to see the dashboard. So in that way also we can restrict So until unless the user has DB password, so they will not be able to see the dashboard. So this way we can restrict in the live connection. But in case of extract, we can't restrict the to enter the password by the user. Why? Because hyper. So if the user is having access to the Tableau server, then he can access the extract connection. So this doesn't require any database password, because we are not retrieving the data directly from the database. We are retrieving it from the hyperfile. But this is not live data. So until unless the schedule refresh happens, then only we'll get the updated information. Otherwise, if we do manual refresh, then also we can see the updated data. So this is a extra two options for live connection, where you can embed the password. So if you embed the password, it will not ask the user to enter the password to see the dashboard. So if you keep prompt user, until unless user enters the DB password, they will not be able to see the dashboard. So that's about live and extract. And now let's see some of the other questions. So what is the difference between, so you might get a question like, what is the difference between context and a traditional filter? So as in our previous classes, we have seen what exactly is the difference. So I will just show you once again. So let's say I have region and I have states. Excuse me. Okay, so I have regions and I have states. I'll take region filter. Say okay. So in state filter, I'll put top 5. I'll put top 5 based on sales. So I'll put sales also first. So I'll take state and I'll take top 5 based on sum of sales. Okay, so I'll try to create traditional filter first. Okay, so in this traditional filter, so let's say if I use this show filter and if I select central, so I will be able to see four states which are in top 5. But I'm not able to see the top 5. Though if I have unselected this central, so I'm not seeing this Texas is getting filtered out. So what happens is in traditional filters, so all filters are getting applied. All filters are getting applied. But actually, what is the filter that I have applied? So I'll just make a duplicate of this one, and I will use context filter. Okay, so in this state filter, I have selected top 5 sales. Okay, so whatever region I might be selecting, I should be able to see top 5 in those regions. Let's say if I am selecting only one region, so based on traditional filter, what is happening? So top 5 it is filtering, and then it is filtering west region. So based on that, you will get only 2 states. But actually what I need is, so even if I select one region, I should be able to see what are the top 5 states in that particular region. So that we can do only by using a context filter. So make this region as a context filter, add to context. So then if I select, even if I select West region, so by using traditional filter, let's say West region will consider both the filters and it will give you 2 states. But in case of this context, when I select West region, I can see top 5 in West region. So yeah, so if I select South, so combine together West and South, so I can see what is the top 5. So how this filter is happening is, okay, so I have made region as a context. Region as a context. So let's say central has 200 records and east had 200 records, and west had 200 records, and south had 200 records. Okay, so what context filter does is, if I select west region, so there will be a auxiliary table or temporary table will be created only for these 200 records, and whatever filter I apply on top of this, so it will only check for these 200 records. Instead of checking the total 800 records, it will only check for these 200 records. It will not consider the other filters and all. So it will not fetch check the other records, which is 600 records. Okay, so in traditional filter, what is happening? It is checking the 800 values, and then it will apply other filters. Let's say state top 5. So it is going to all the 800 records and then filtering the top 5. But in case of context, it is just filtering the west, and then it is creating a 200 records, and then on top of that, this top 5 filter is getting applied. So that is the reason I can able to see top 5 in west region. But in case of traditional filter, what is happening, as it is checking for the entire data. So if I select west region, I will only be able to see 2 states. Why? Because it is checking the entire data, and in the entire data, this west region has only top 2. Like it is considering the region filter as well, and also state filter as well. But in case of context, what is happening? West region, it is making a auxiliary table. So we can see west region information. In that, whatever is the top 5, so we are getting that information. So top 5 states. So that is the use of context filter. And now we'll see how to answer it in the interview. So when a worksheet queries the data source, it creates a temporary flat table. So that is used to compute the chart. So your goal is to make the temporary table as small as possible. So context filters have a few advantages over traditional filters. First, they execute more quickly than traditional filters. So compared to traditional filters, these are very faster, and they are also executed before traditional filters. So if you see, okay, so let's say you have put any other filter. So you can see, that filter will be on the top of all the filters. That means order-wise context filter will be applied first, and then later all the filters will get applied. So even if you try to put it in the down, so you will not be able to put it down. So let's say category is in the 3rd position. So if I make this into context, so it will go to top. Why? Because context filter will be the so in the order, context filter will get applied first, then only other traditional filters will get applied. Okay, so the main problem with context filter is performance. Unless the context filter is filtering out more than 90% of the data, once you reach this sweet spot, the efficiency gain from only having less than 10%. Okay, so if you use this as a user filter, so I'm using this, but so what is the disadvantage of this particular context filter is, so let's say west I have selected. So currently it is creating a temporary table for west region. But when I select other south region, so every time it is creating a temporary table in the background. So that way it takes more time. So when you have millions of records in your data, that way it takes some time to create this categories and all. So that is one disadvantage. So until unless you are making 90% of data from context filter, so otherwise it will be consuming the performance. And traditional filter is exactly what most people think of. So when Tableau is creating the visualization, it will check to see if a value is filtered out by tradition. So it's a normal traditional filter where you can apply. So all the filters will be acting accordingly. So this is not performed, and this is also called as a independent filter. So this will not dependent on any other filters. So context. So in interview, you might get a question like whether which filters are independent filters and all. So you can answer context filters or independent filters, and traditional filters are dependent filters. Since this is not performed at the table level, it is the slowest of all filter types. So this will be the slowest filter type. And however, it does have the advantage of being performed after the context filters. So this will get performed after the context filter. So otherwise, context filter will get performed first, and then the traditional filters will get performed. So this is a necessity if you are dealing with complex top-end filters. A traditional filter can be created simply by dragging any field into the filter shelf. Yeah, so if you drag any field to the filter shelf, you can create that. So before going to the next slides, so if you have any questions, I'll just take a pause here. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, TWB only. If you are publishing with live, it will be TWB. If you are publishing with extract, it will be TWBX. Yeah. Hmm. Okay, so we'll continue with the next slide. So what is the difference between groups and sets? Okay, so let's create a set. So we have discussed about set earlier. So we'll see what is the difference between a group and a set. So customer name and sales, and I'll sort this, and I'll create a set. Right click on this. So can anyone tell me what are the steps to create a set? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So we can create a parameter also. Yeah. Parameter 3, I have already I'll create a new one. Okay. So user can enter top values. Yeah. Say okay. And I'll show this parameter top values. And I'll use this set in the filter. Yeah. And this is typing. Okay. So this way I can create a set where I'm grouping the customers based on the value of the sales. So here I'm doing the grouping based on the value of the sales. And so this is about sets. And I'll just make a copy of this one. And I'll remove this filter. And customer name, I will select create group. Okay, so group is manually, I can do the group. So earlier we have conditional based grouping. So I'm taking it based on the value of the sales. So this is manual grouping where you can select the names, whatever you want to group manually and name something. Let's say starts with A, or persons, or let's say selected people. and rest you can keep as others. So there are these many people, and if you click on this, you can keep others, or you can keep uh, removed people or something like this. Not required. Okay, and I want to create a list of others. Say okay. So this is like grouping based on however I want. So customer names, I want some people in some group and some other people in other group and all. So that way I can manually select and create a group. Okay, so this doesn't require any condition. So this is a manual grouping. And by using set, I can put some condition. So the set is a dynamic thing. So I can put some condition, and based on that condition, I can keep it. I mean, if the values are getting changed, so every time you cannot see these people. You can't see Sean Miller, Tamara Chen, Raymond Bush. You can't see. So as we have data till 2023, so if you are getting data for 2024 or 2025, so these customers might not be in the top position. So the values are getting changed. Names will also get changed. So top 10 might change. So this is dynamic. So sets are dynamic. And if you go to groups, these are static. Okay, even if the values are changing, even if the value of sum of sales is getting changed, this won't impact for the grouping. Why? Because that's a manual selection that I have done. So there is no condition at all. So I have manually selected. So if this person comes in, so if this, it doesn't matter if this person is doing more sales or not. So it doesn't matter, as I'm just manually selecting it. So this is not conditional based, and this is static. So even after years and years of data that you're getting, so in this list, you will see only these names. So even if the other persons are coming, so they will be added into others list. So that's the difference. So group is static, where you can manually select the names and all. Sets are dynamic, so it will be conditional based. So sets and groups, the grouping dimensions of data. So in both the cases, we are grouping the dimensions. So here also I'm grouping. Set also I'm grouping the dimension however I want. In groups also I'm grouping the customer names. The grouping is same, but in case of set it is dynamic. In case of groups it is static. So that's the main difference, static and dynamic. So simplifies large number of dimension members by combining them into higher level categories. So each and every, so all these names are categorized into one particular higher level category. Let's say you have some cities. So all those cities combined together is called as a state. So all those states combined together as a higher level category, which is country. In the same way, customer names altogether categorized into not required and selected people and all. So higher level, to create higher level categories, we do the grouping. And sets are subsets of your data. So we are making subset of data. Let's say you have 100 customers and you're taking only top 10. That means you are making a subset of data. You're not taking the entire data. So also based on existing dimensions, sets get their own special area in the data pane. You can create a set visually by selecting marks, or you can create a computed set. Okay, so whatever condition that we write, okay, so let's say I have written this top 5. Okay, top 10. So what this set does is, it will take into in. So whatever the other function, other customers are there, so that will be considered as out. Okay, so other customers are considered as out. So basically, when you put this in the filter, in is getting selected. So it is satisfying the condition. So these are the top 10 customers. So these are inside the set. What are not satisfying the condition, those are the outside of the set. So that's about groups and sets. Okay, so So this is how the flow of the interview introduction. So first of all, we need to start with our introduction, like where do we start? Like, so if you go to an organization, so how do you get your tasks and all? So first thing is we need to gather the requirements. So gathering the requirements from the clients and helping them understand their data. So first of all, they will provide you the data. So they will provide you the data in a way that maybe in Excel format or Oracle or SQL Server. So once they provide the data, we need to understand the data. We need to read what all the columns are available and what they are looking for. So we need to come up with some questions. So what are the columns which are most important or mostly used? So we need to know all those informations and what are the measures that are available. So we need to know about those questions and gather the requirements basically. So that's the first thing as a Tableau developer we do. So these are, so in an organization, you basically there will be business analysts, team leads, Tableau developers, and DB developers. Okay, so the number might be different for each and every organization, but this is the uh, team that you will have. So in any organization, you will have a business analyst, and team lead might be available or not. Like business analyst will take care of all these activities, like who has to do what work and all. So business analyst or team lead will take care of that, and Tableau developer and DB developer. So business analyst will take care of this requirement gathering. So he will read the data, he will understand the data, and he will assign the work to DB team and assign the work to Tableau team. Okay, so he is the key person. So business analyst is the key person. So he will help us understand what data is and what all charts we need to prepare and how we will get the data to Tableau. So any cleaning or any type of transformations, so DB team will take care of that, transformations and all. So DB team will take care of that, and so if any columns are not present in the output table or output view, so DB team will create any transformations and get all the data into one table or two tables and give those table to us, and then we start preparing the charts accordingly. So after gathering the requirements, so business analyst will perform a POC, which is proof of concept. Okay, so proof of concept, in this he will create a sample data and create sample charts which Tableau can do. So he will give a overview of what we can do in this particular time. So in this he will let client know about timelines. Okay, so in this he will let know about the timelines and bandwidth of employees, and so he will let us know how much time it will take for each and every chart, or how much time it will take for DB creation and all. So he will assign the timings, and then we will need to tell our timings based on that. So based on the requirements, we will also get a chance to tell. So this much time will be taken for to create this particular time. So then we can say it might take 1 week or 2 weeks, depending upon the number of worksheets or number of calculation that we write. So we can ask for the timeline. So this is where the discussion happens, and then we start developing the charts. Okay, so data modeling will happen at the DBN. So if there are no much data modeling related things, so we can directly connect to the Excel, or directly connect to the Oracle SQL service. So in data modeling, it involves joins, unions, merging the data, pivot and unpivot things, complex calculations. So basically, there are some calculations that can be written in the database level. So instead of writing those calculations in the Tableau in, so it's better you write those calculations in the database level only, so that in Tableau front end side, it will not take much time. So, so whatever possible calculations, we need to make those changes in the database level itself. Okay, so once the data model is ready, so then we connect it to Tableau and we create some KPIs. So as we have discussed earlier, KPIs are nothing but key performance indicators. Key performance indicators. So in the sample superstore example that we are seeing, we see sales, profit. These are the KPIs that we have seen the charts. But in some cases or in organizations, what you do is you might end up doing some calculations like sales into 10 divided by sum of profit into 100, some calculation. So they will give you definition of this particular calculation and why they are using these calculations and all, multiplied by pi and also all these calculations they will give you. They will ask you to create a key performance indicator and also provide the definition of the calculation. Definition of the calculation. So I will tell you one particular KPI, which is CONQ, CONQ, which is a cost of non-quality. So it's basically sum of cost divided by sales. Basically, what you get is you get cost as a separate column and sales as a separate column. But you need to create a calculation like this, which is sum of cost divided by sum of sales, where sum of sales is not equal to 0. So these kind of requirements, you will get it. And you need to write a calculation accordingly. So this becomes your KPI. So sum of cost divided by sum of sales will become your KPI. So likewise, you will get a lot of KPIs and definitions they will provide. So based on that, you need to create the charts. So earlier we used to create for sales and profit. So instead of sales and profit, you can create for cost of non-quality or CONQ. So basically this is the percentage, CONQ percentage. So that's about requirement gathering. So this is what you can say in the interview introduction and all. Okay, so Tableau desktop, Tableau server, we have discussed in the earlier sessions. So Tableau desktop is a place where create all the visualizations and all. And Tableau server is the where we can host our work. So while publishing it to server, we can restrict the user. Okay, so while publishing this dashboard, so let's say I can restrict which person needs to have which access and all. So this particular region user is there. And so there are also some calculations. So there are also some calculation. If username, I'll just type in user here. So I'll log in first of all. So I will log in as Sagar. And whenever I log in to the server, so I should be able to access, let's say, central. So you can see my name is coming in the right bottom. And whenever I log in, so I'll put insert full name. Yeah. So when I say full name, I can see my full name here. And if username or full name equals to Sagar Tumma, then region equal to central, and say okay. So this is called as user filter. So this way you can write user filter for many calculations, and you can keep on extend these lines. So if I put this in this and say true, so I have only central access. So whenever I log in, I will only be able to see central data. So this way I can see the central information. So like if other people are logged in, then they will be able to see the other information for what they have access. User filter, and you can put some other names like else if, and you can write other conditions. And you can keep west region. If the name doesn't match, let's say if I write spelling wrong, so then it won't take. So then it will not give you anything, because I have written this spelling wrong. So it is not matching with my name, so it won't give anything. So until unless it matches, then only it will show the data. So this is how it works. So if a person logs in with their ID, so it will check for the ID. So whatever data that person has access, then only he can view the data. So that we can restrict in the Tableau server. Okay, so this is most important. So in interviews, you might get this question: how to improve the performance of Tableau. So these are the 9 points you can say in the interview. So hiding the unused fields. So after creating the entire dashboard, okay. So if you click on this drop down and click on hide all unused fields, so these many columns are there. So I'm not using all these columns. So if I click on hide all unused fields, only these columns are getting used in the dashboard. So likewise, in your organization also, you will be having hundreds of columns, so which you might not use 100 columns in your dashboard. So after doing the development all, so you can hide all unused fields, which will improve the performance drastically. That is one. Limit the number of sheets that are being used in dashboard. So to limit the number of sheets, so there are multiple options. So where we have done sheet swapping, or let's say swap dimensions, and swap measures. Okay, so if there are any chances to reduce the worksheets, you can use this swap dimension and swap measures option, so that you might not be creating the number of worksheets. Let's say for sales you are showing, so you want to show the sales for different dimensions, like 3 dimensions or 4 dimensions. Create a parameter and put sales, and dimensions you can swap it between other dimension by using a parameter selection. So that we have seen in our previous sessions. So use some of those topics and try to reduce the number of worksheets that are being used in a dashboard, and reduce the length of the calculation to be written in the calculated field. So try to reduce the length of the calculation fields. So there are some ways where you can reduce. So let's say if sum of sales or sum of profit is greater than sum of profit if sum of profit is greater than 0, this is coming like this. If sum of profit is greater than 0, then profitable. Else non-profitable. End. So this is one, and you can use IAF function also. So there is one IAF function where you can use IAF. So let's type IAF, sum of profit greater than 0. So no need to write this then and all. So whatever you put of first comma, that will be shown as then profitable, and your second comma will be else condition. So that is non-profitable. So basically these both are same. So what I have done is I've just reduced the length of the calculation. So this both will give you same output. So I'll just show you. Profit subcategory. I'll just swap it and sort it. Yeah, so I have negative and this thing. So apply, and I'll use this in color. So positive values will be shown in one color, negative values will be shown in other color. So let's say I will comment these things and I'll use this one. So this will also be same output. So there is no change. So there are certain ways where you can reduce the calculation. So in writing if else statement, and if you see case statement will be longer, and in some cases if statements will be longer. So depending on your requirement, so you need to choose which gives the less length. So you need to try to reduce the length of the calculation and use calculation fields instead of using groups in the Tableau. So using groups will take time. So it will take manually we can create groups, right? So these groups will consume the performance. So what you can do is you can create a calculation field using this, and you can specify what all groups that you want to create. So you can use this string function starts with A, or you can manually enter those values and you can group it together. Let's say I'll show you one example. Customer name, create calculate field. If starts with A, starts with let's set the column customer name. So if it starts with A, then group it as starts with A. Else others. So this way also we can group it. So instead of using the grouping functionality, so we can use this. So calculation 3. Okay, so whichever is starting with A, those are considered as starts with A. So this here you can see starts with A. So all these customer names are starting with A, and rest I have kept it as others. So that is the reason you can see others. Okay, so that is one way. And create context filter, so that we have discussed earlier. So context filter will improve the performance. The cleaner your data is, better it matches the structure of your questions. So you need to maintain the clean data, and you should not have any nulls or anything. So you need to clean your data properly. So then only you need to connect it to the Tableau. So while reducing the data, make sure you use filters efficiently. So try to use more filters. So while taking it to the database dashboard only. So try to use data source filters and extract data source filters. So in that way, which will restrict the data while entering the dashboard only. So that also improves the performance. Strings and dates are slow. Numbers and booleans are fast. So there are some string functions and date functions. So and you have numbers and booleans function. So these functions are faster. I mean, these functions will work faster in Tableau. And if you have these strings and date functions, it will make the dashboard slow. So try to hello, hello, am I audible? Okay, okay. Yeah, so strings and dates are slow, so numbers and booleans are fast. And if it is slow in the data source, it will be slow in desktop. Okay, so you need to check the data source first. So if SQL Server or Oracle Server, so you need to check the data source whether that is slow or not. If that data source itself is slow, so it will definitely be slow in Tableau desktop also. So you need to check the data source first of all. And yeah, so these are the basic 9 points to improve the performance of the Tableau. Any questions? Okay, so we'll continue to the next slide. Okay, so basic general tips to tips and tricks to prepare the dashboard so that it can perform good. So majority of slow dashboards are caused by poor design. So before developing only, we need to use these 9 points. We need to be clear. So we need to limit the number of sheets, use the length of the calculations less. Instead of using groups, you need to use calculation field, use the context filters. So while developing the dashboard only, we need to make use of all these 9 points. So then only we can make a good performing dashboard and allow your users to incrementally drill down to details. So let's say you're creating a worksheet at a higher level, like country, state, district, city, postal code. So help them understand from the higher level to lower level. So let's say country, they will see how many countries are there and how sales is performing in the countries. Let's say if there is a country which is giving you less sales, so they can drill down to the states level and which states are causing this much of sales, and they can drill down to the next to district, city, postal code. So this way you try to tell a story with the data. Because of this particular state or because of this particular district, we are getting less amount. Hello, uh, is it got disconnected just before, or you're able to listen continuously? Right, okay, okay, okay. So yeah, so don't work with data that you don't need. So basically, some data, let's say, after I hidden the fields which I'm not using, so that means, let's say, I click on this data and hide all unused fields. So that means I'm not using the rest of the columns. So it's better not to use the fields which are not being used in the dashboard. Because there is no silver bullet for inefficient workbooks. Start by looking at the performance recorder to understand where the time is going. So there is an option where we can create a uh, performance recording. So I'll just show you how that works. So let's put some filters here. all okay. We'll close this one. Okay, so to know performance of this dashboard, so there is an option, go to help button, go to settings and performance, and click on start performance recording. Okay, and do some filters and some interactions with the dashboard. So I'll just use this filter and select Canada first and United States and all again. Okay, so do some filters or some kind of let me put this state filter all. Say okay, then remove this, select some of these things. Okay, so do some interactions and go to the same help button and click on this settings and performance and stop performance recording. Okay, once you stop this performance recording, this will generate a Tableau dashboard, which will give you information of how this dashboard is performing. So you can see one dashboard is appearing on the screen. So this dashboard will give us the information on how much time it is taking, which worksheet is taking, how much time, that we can see it. So you can see sheet name as well, 2 pie chart sheet. So how much time it is taking? It is taking some fraction of seconds. Some fraction of seconds information. And you can see the worksheets and all. So sheet 16 is taking some time. So it is showing you whichever sheet is having taking more time. And in the below you can see what is the rendering time. So it is taking only 0.03 seconds. All this time is in seconds only. 0.03, 0.01, 0.02. So it is taking only less time. So not any dashboard should take more than 3 to 4 seconds. So if it is taking more than 3 to 4 seconds, then it will be an issue. Then it will be an performance issue. So you need to improve the performance of that particular dashboard. So in our case, it is taking only milliseconds. So in any chart you see, it is taking 0.06 seconds, 0.04 seconds and all. Even in the worksheets, it is taking 0.03. Elapsed time, if you see, it is taking 0.03 and all. All the worksheets, it is taking very, very less time. So that means you can say the performance of this particular dashboard is good. So that's about general tips. So you can check the performance of the dashboard and know your data at the database level. And we also have an option, which is assume referential integrity. So not only these 9 points, so there is one more point which you can say in the interview to improve the performance of the dashboard. So that is assume referential integrity. So this is a very important point where you can tell in the interview, assume referential integrity. So this option will be available only for SQL Server. I'll check, I'll just see whether it is available for this one. Click on edit data source and click on file data. Yeah. So here you can see this assume referential integrity option. So you need to enable this option. Okay, so a tick mark will be available here. Okay, so once this is ticked, so there is an operation that happens. I'll just show how it works. So this only works in while doing joins. While doing joins. Okay, so this will work while doing joins in Tableau. Okay, so that here I have an example of one table, which is sales, and the other table, product catalog. And I'm joining these two tables based on the product ID. The product ID and product ID in product catalog are having the similar type of columns. So I'm joining it based on this. Okay. So let's say I want sale amount from this particular column. So I have done a join between sales catalog and product catalog. So this is a query that it will write. So as I'm doing an inner join, so select sum of sale amount from sales table. So inner join product catalog based on this product ID in sales table and product ID in catalog table. So this is the basic condition. So as I have done a join between these two tables, sales and product catalog. So inner join. So I'm doing sales inner join product catalog. The condition is based on the product ID from sales table and product ID in product catalog. So this is a query which you need to write to get the information from sale amount table. So once you do this, assume referential integrity. So you tell Tableau that the joint tables have referential integrity. In other words, you are confirming that the sales table will always having a matching row in the product catalog table. Okay, so whatever values which are there in this table, this product ID will match with the product ID table in the product catalog. So Tableau doesn't need any information from the product catalog in order to return these results. So let's say you have, let's say I want product ID and only the sale amount. So I don't want any information from this. At this point of time, I'm just trying to get the sale amount, not related to any product information. So I'm not trying to retrieve any product name from the other table. So in this case, I'm just trying to get only sale amount. So instead of writing this joint condition, so Tableau will automatically write a simple condition, which is select sum of sales amount from sales. Okay, so once you do this assume referential integrity, so it will try to reduce the complexity of the SQL query. So basically, it will try to reduce the complexity of the SQL query. Okay, so basically, whenever we are doing this thing, okay, let's say I'm joining sheet 1 with sheet 2. Okay, so basically, I'm doing an inner join, and if I'm not taking any information from the second table, so let's say I'm having only information from the sheet 1 itself. So basically, if I do this type of join, so this will write automatically if you're not clicking on the assume referential integrity. So this will write this join condition if you're not selecting the assume referential integrity. As in this current scenario, I'm taking the information only from this left table. I don't want any data from a right table. If I don't want any data from right table, so then there is no point of me writing a join condition between these two tables. Why? Because I don't require any information from the second table. In such case, what Tableau does is, if I select assume referential integrity, so it will write a simple query, which is select sum of sales from the sales table. So that's how assume referential integrity will reduce the complexity of the SQL query that runs behind the Tableau. So that's about know your data at the database level and break up your data to improve the so so if you have large database, break up your data into pieces and connect and create the visualizations. And while using extracts, so you need to understand whether you need to use extract or live connection. Extract or live connection. So it completely depends on the requirement. Sometimes if you have millions of records, let's say more than 50 millions of records. Okay, so every time fetching these 50 million records in live connection, it will take more time. So basically extract is faster than the live connection. Extract is faster than the live connection. So it's better if you have more data, it's better to connect to extract connection. And so in certain scenarios, you might end up using live connection only, where you need the up-to-date data. So a good way to test the raw performance of the data is to install Tableau desktop on the computer. And so try to check the performance using performance recording. So if it takes more time, then you need to improve the performance or try to keep the dashboards in extract connection. Yeah, so that's about today's session. So I'll just take a pause. So if you have any questions. Mhm. No, actually, what I'm trying to tell is, so in this case, I have joined and I got this two tables together, right? So let's say in the sheet, if you go to sheet, but I'm using only the columns from sheet one. Okay, so in this case, Tableau won't write that join condition. Why? Because I'm taking data only from this one. In other sheet, I might use data from both the tables. Okay, so I wish I should not stop doing this. In the background I need to do this, but while doing these things in the sheet level. So here it will write normal select statement, select country, comma region from sheet one. So in sheet 25, what it will do? It will do a join condition in sheet 22, sheet 25. So here you need to write. Why? Because I'm taking columns from sheet one and I'm taking columns from sheet two. So in the background, it will write this join condition. So in SQL and Oracle, so if you do this thing, so as you have already joined in SQL and Oracle, so it will still be writing that join condition. So even if you want data from the first table, so you need to still write the join condition. So that's the difference. Got it? Any questions? ఆహా! ఎనేబుల్ చేస్తే ఇప్పుడు ఈ బ్యాక్‌గ్రౌండ్‌లో రన్ అయ్యే క్వెరీ ఉంటది కదా! ఆ క్వెరీ ఇలా పెద్దగా రాసే బదులు చిన్నగా రాస్తానన్నమాట. ఇప్పుడు సమ్ కేసెస్‌లో మనం బోత్ ద టేబుల్స్ యూజ్ చేయం కదా! ఇప్పుడు లెట్స్ సే దీని నుంచే యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాం. దీని నుంచి యూజ్ చేసినప్పుడు జాయిన్ చేయాల్సిన పనుండదు. బ్యాక్‌గ్రౌండ్‌లో ఇలా రాస్తది జనరల్‌గా. అస్యూమ్ రిఫరెన్షియల్ ఇంటిగ్రిటీ సెలెక్ట్ చేయకపోయిండా ఇట్ విల్ రైట్ దిస్ కండిషన్. ఇప్పుడు బ్యాక్ ఎండ్‌లో నీకు ఇది జాయిన్ చేసుకొనే నీకు ఇప్పుడు అవుట్‌పుట్ సేమే వస్తది. ఇదైనా అవుట్‌పుట్ సేమే వస్తది. కాకపోతే అస్యూమ్ రిఫరెన్షియల్ ఇంటిగ్రిటీ ద్వారా ఏంటంటే చెప్తున్నాం అన్నట్టు. ఒకవేళ ఓన్లీ ఇఫ్ యూ ఆర్ టేకింగ్ ద ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఫ్రమ్ ఓన్లీ లెఫ్ట్ టేబుల్ ఆర్ సేల్స్ టేబుల్ ఆర్ ఫ్రమ్ ద ప్రొడక్ట్. యాహ్! ఓకే. ఓకే. ఎనీ అదర్ క్వెషన్స్? So basically today is the last session for our complete Tableau training. So from tomorrow, I will start giving training for this Tableau roles and responsibilities and for job opportunities. So I'm going to take this session for more 10 days. So I'll take this session till 31 May. Okay, so try to use this opportunity too. So for half an hour, I'll take uh, classes, or I'll discuss about how to write these roles and responsibilities and how to take the interviews and all. So I'll give half an hour session, and half an hour will be question and answer. So you can ask me any doubts related to our previous sessions. So we can discuss that. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, we can wrap this session. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for joining. We'll continue tomorrow.